Okay, so sit wherever you'd like. Before we get started too, I just wanted to just say like this is all of our opportunity to ask questions about the budgets, about anything. Like now is the opportunity. I just want to make sure we don't all like get back together later and things get brought up. The heads of the departments are here. These meetings are for us to make sure we get lay everything out on the table, ask any questions you have. And then when we reconvene, we can kind of all discuss them together as boards. But
Okay.
okay.
So first, thank you all, because I know that, everyone has other things to do, but thanks. It's nice that you meet together too. That's also, because the library and the town is embarking on a library planning and design phase, hopefully maybe to lead to a new or renovated library. I would love a representative from the FinCom. And I already asked the select board to member, but I think it would be a great way to have that expertise on the committee. And I don't want to pinpoint and ask anybody outright, but it would be great if amongst yourselves you said, hey, I'm really interested in this and you want to participate.
What's the timeline on that, do you think? And like the commitment level, if you had
It's
to guess.
probably like the one for the middle school is like monthly. I think it depends on where in the phase it is. Right now, two of the committee members and I are reviewing OPM proposals to present to the permanent building committee. So the permanent building committee is doing, I'm looking at Mike because he knows this better than I do. They're doing sort of all the approvals and stuff. The library committee would have a little bit more knowledge of the library part, like maybe have their opinions on the library and the knowledge and the data that maybe they could bring to the permanent building committee, who then can vote on it. So like, what the building program looks like, which anyone can look at anyway, because it's open and public, but they might have a little more feedback and without having the final approvals, the way it's set up here. Is that right?
Yeah, sure. Yeah. I'm sure I could just add to it.
Sure.
Here in Clinton, we have in the bylaw, there's a permanent building committee for any project over $50,000. So the permanent building committee would be responsible for, oversight and hiring of the architect, any engineers, approving any payments for the project. But as the school committee, there is also a school building committee, and the library trustees were going to have a library building committee. So the voting members of that committee would have to be the permanent building committee set up by bylaw. But you can expand that and have added input in dialogue from some of the stakeholders and people that would have more in-depth knowledge. So the library trustees will appoint this library building committee. But when we get to the monthly meetings, the only one voting would be the bylaw permanent building committee. But right now, they are meeting monthly on the school project. Here, there probably will be a little bit more because they're going to maybe look for community input, because this is the feasibility / schematic design. So it's really trying to pick which site. It's either going to renovate the current site and reno addition, or pick a brand new site and build a new school on another site. So once it gets up and running, it'll probably be just monthly. But right now, for the next 6, 7, 8 months, it'll probably be a little bit busier in order to come up with a project. Because by December, the town needs to submit one or the other. You can't submit alternatives. You have to pick what the project is going to be by December. So it's going to be a lot of work between now and then to come up with that final plan. So,
All right.
So
Helpful, thank you.
Thank you, Mike. Like the budget is, do I need to say anything, or you want to ask questions first? Or you want
I don't know if you have more to
No, that was my,
Okay.
my big pitch. The budget is not terribly different than past years. It's not our membership in CW Mars, which is our library consortium, which is why you can get books delivered from all over the state, for free and not have to repay for it. They are very conservative. If you look at the change is less than 1%. The salaries were just, 2% based on the step or based on just adding up 2% for people who are at the far end of the scale. The books and periodicals line has to be 15% of the total. And pretty much everything else is based on what we've spent. Although, I don't know, the energy bill seems to have been much higher than in past years. So I'm not sure what's going on.
Do you receive any federal funding?
We do not. And the construction bond from the state is strictly state money.
Thank you.
We can, in the past, we can apply for grants that come from the state through the Board of Library Commissioners and they administer them, but directly, no.
I have a question there. So for your state funding, what do you receive annually approximately?
So that varies. I think this year we got around 33 or 34. We only got half of it, so quite honestly, I can't tell you exactly yet, because that might change. I do know some of our electronic services that the state pays for, which are used mostly in schools, that is paid for with federal money.
Okay, and then what about donations? Did you have any donations this past year? Are there any donations?
Maybe like 4,000, 3,000 or 4,000. I knew you were gonna ask these questions. I would have them. in
I've
front of
asked
me.
these questions every budget I've asked these. So the only reason I'm asking is because, I spoke to the town accountant just to get an idea on what the numbers were, but going into June 2024, there was $69,509 for state aid, and there was $42,062 for donations. So of that, do you have an idea of what you've already spent out of that, or what is still in there?
Well, we were hoping to sort of put aside some of the state aid to help pay for the non-eligible costs in a construction program, like, furniture is not included, stuff like that. And so it helped defray costs for the town. So we are sort of putting that aside, although not directly, just sort of in my own little Excel spreadsheet, trying to put aside some of that. In terms of state aid, I'm trying to think, I just did that today, like 5,000 of that has been spent.
Madam Chairman, if I may, does that mean that by trying to put that money aside that you're reducing some of the programs that you have, or will
No,
that affect your programs?
no, we're trying not to. That's what the gift account money is then, we use that. If we run out of programs money, we use the gift account to.
I'm sorry?
We use the gift account money to pay for programs.
Okay.
Are we gonna discuss this like at the end as a board, or would we discuss it now? Like if we have any,
Well, like just for us to kind of talk about.
yeah,
I
yeah,
think we should have like a meeting at the end,
okay.
just the boards.
After we've gone through all the budgets. Okay.
Any other questions or comments?
I guess, sorry, just one more thing, like with the notation of like lights, the electricity, natural gas, like all that rising, is that like factored in or, I mean, I know it's
I was
unpredictable,
trying to
but if there's like a
base-
buffer.
I was trying to base the numbers on the last full year numbers that I had,
Mhm,
which was 23 to 20, yeah, 23 to 24.
mhm.
So that's where I came up with these numbers. I don't know if the bills that I'm paying for electric, and Diane's really good about saying, hey, you already paid this one. You know, if they don't get paid in time, then they double up and I'm like, I'm just paying this. Why is it so much higher than it was? I don't know if it really is higher or if it's just that there was one that was paid late. So not 100% sure on that. But technology, you know, that is, prices of things go up. We're trying to do more stuff in-house programmatically, anyway.
Programmatically.
You know what I mean? Yeah, right. But, you know, there's only so much you can do because we are a limited pool of talent. Programmatically, yeah.
For the advertising under the miscellaneous expense, so you have,
So that probably won't be as high this year.
so you, in here right now, you have $5,927.
Right, like it was based on 2 years ago when we got the new logo and we really wanted to promote that. But a lot of that can be paid for with state.
So the
So
number,
this miscellaneous, so this
Yeah, yeah.
miscellaneous expense sheet is like, you know, to the point, like, it says almost 6,000 for advertising, but that was from 2 years ago. So you don't expect to spend 6,000 on it?
Probably not. I mean, it's hard to say, but no, I don't think so.
So then do you think the 12,000 can come down? On the, like, the overall miscellaneous expense that's in the budget?
I guess it depends if you're gonna cut somewhere else. I mean, at the end of the year, we still dig into state aid to pay for things.
I think
guess I'm
the
confused.
confusion is, so this is the budget you just put forth included the $5,900. So it's not that we're looking for something to cut, but you're saying that that number may not be
Quite as high.
the amount. So then that's kind of what we're getting at. If
Well, on
it's
the other
not-
hand, the cost of paper has doubled
So why would that be reflected in the office supplies?
because I was basing it on 2 years ago when it wasn't that expensive. I was just basing it exactly on 2 years ago. That's what I was spending. That's what I was, because that was the last full year I could base it on. I didn't have the data from this year yet.
Yep.
So, I mean, it's not perfect. It's not a perfect system, but it's what I had.
Any other questions, comments?
Lot of detail. Good job.
So we have these, I probably should have said this at the start too. We have these over like the next few weeks and then we'll get together. So if there's any feedback or any changes, we'll come back to you. after
That would
we
be
all get
great.
together.
To know if there are any changes.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yep. Thank you. Thank you. Okay.
Hello, everyone. My name is Laura Taylor. I am the new director of the Clinton Council on Aging. Just to preface, I started February 12th. So,
No
We're
worries.
proud of-
but
Yeah.
I feel like I've learned a lot. And Deb was really instrumental in helping me put the budget together. And hopefully I can answer the questions that you have. And I have my notes written down. So what did we have? I will do my best to answer.
So I think as like a starting place, what we typically like to just have a little bit of background on, and it might be in the letter, is just anything that's going up in terms of cost. So the meal programs,
Okay.
um, miscellaneous expense,
Mhm.
and then your programs and utilities all seem to be going up. So just any details that you have. for
Sure.
those.
Absolutely. We can, if we want to work our way from the bottom up, utilities, I ran some numbers today, and the 26,000 that we got for last year, we have about 5,000 left for the remainder of the year. So Deb had asked to up it to 30,000, and I kind of checked, and at this point, we've spent about 23,000 of the 26,000. So it seems to make sense that it would go up, and especially with the cost of the house, and if hopefully if the carriage house is running and we have that functioning, that would, I believe, take care of our needs. We do keep the heat low. We turn everything off at night. You know, we definitely try to maintain good utility behavior. With the programs, I guess, for the last 2 years have been at 15K. As with anything, instructors have gone up, the price of the program supplies have gone up, and we try to make sure that the activities at the senior center are no cost or low cost. But again, these are numbers that were suggested. You know, we have in our program budget, on the line item, I apologize for 40,000 pieces of paper, but I just wanted to make sure. We've spent more than half of it, but I also know that our program person started mid-year, the new person ramping up, and we're going to be doing a lot. We're going to try and do some more trips. We do have a couple of grants from the Cultural Council, and we're lucky that we have our Angels group to fund and help out with buses. But we're, again, trying to just maintain a healthy, well-run, and in a place for our seniors to socialize. With the miscellaneous expense, that was a line item that Deb asked me to raise because I guess that's been at the same amount as well for the last 5 years. The miscellaneous has been at 15K. So with the cost of toner, paper, supplies, it goes up. But again, you know, we're still pretty good on our budget with our miscellaneous number that we have to spend money on. And then with the meal program, last year, our meal service manager went from 25 hours to 35 hours. And we're now providing meals, Monday muffins. We have meals on Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday at a $5 cost. And, you know, they're big meals and we usually run a program with it. So again, the cost of living, but so you know that we are trying to also save money. In the past, we didn't have the storage or it wasn't set up for storage. And so since I've been there, I've been working with the meal service manager and we've already changed the coffee provider. We're already, we've upped our contract with Cisco, so we don't have to go to Hannaford's 5 or 6 times a week because we don't have the storage. And we're working with facilities. And since we have the room in the basement, we have a place where we had the Board of Health come down that we can store non-perishables. So we can buy more in bulk. So we can save money. So we are looking at, like, we know the price of food has gone up, but we also have been exploring in the last month that I've been there ways to lower the price. And then with the salaries, I did the 2% for myself. And, you know, I gave myself a 1% because it would be halfway through the year, but it's fine. If that doesn't happen. I just want a budget for the seniors. And we do have the Clinton Home Foundation. You know, we have money in our budget that we have used for renovation on the 3rd floor, which has happened over the last couple of years. We do get the formula grant for the state. It's projected, I think we have like 3,482 seniors in 2025. We get a specific amount from the state. And this year it's 51,000 that we get allocated. So we've gotten that. And so that's something that I do have in my budget, but that's to be used for like instructors and things to benefit the seniors directly. And so we do pay our instructors from that, and that allows us to not charge the seniors for these classes.
I know you just started, but are there any like projects for like bigger projects for the senior center like on the horizon?
I know that there was a warrant article, I think it was for 525 last year or the year before for the porch project. And I know that that money is allocated and we're trying to figure out with Brian when it can start because they want to put a lift up so that people in wheelchairs can actually get up and come in and use the porch. We also have the carriage house project I've been talking with Mike since I started and with the permanent building committee, and the initial amount that we were granted from the town was 360,000. The first pass from the architects came back at 858,000. So like, that's and so Mike had them go back and they came back with 525, but the money that I have on hand, and I'm still working it out with Diane for what exactly we do have for ARPA funds available for us. I think I have like 510,000 available cash. So I've asked Mike to have the architect come down so I can speak with them, see what we can kind of knock out. The seniors really just want the carriage house as a place for them to use for exercise. And, you know, if we put down a nice wood floor and have some splitters and, you know, kind of weatherproof the inside, we could also use it to bring in revenue, you know, we have a center use policy, but if we have the carriage house, it could be used for baby showers, parties, for birthday parties, celebrations for our seniors without a cost to us and actually help offset. It might take about 20 or 30 years, but of constant rentals. But I know from at Parks and Rec, the rental of the space gave us, you know, that cash that we were able to do a little bit more and offer a little bit more and cut the cost. And so you're actually helping sort of run your own program because you're bringing in some money.
Any other questions or comments?
You said most of the programs are either free or like a nominal amount.
Yes.
Is that like, and you may not have the answer right now, but is that like common for other towns like of our size?
Yes, other towns, they charge an amount. I've been, you know, trying to sort of look to see what other senior centers are doing, not only for ideas,
Yeah,
but also ideas for the remainder of my staff, and also like grouping together to save on instructors and supplies and things like that. Because if one senior center is offering a program on scams, there's 10 others that are doing it. If you can
yeah.
get everyone together or hire the instructor, she can do it one in the morning, one in the afternoon. You might get a break on price.
Mhm.
So they do charge because, you know, budgets are tight everywhere. There's a felting class that we charge for, but it's $5. They came today, they made these 2 really cute eggs. They were there for 2 hours and we had 23 women there. Like, how cool is that? Like they get to come and chat and talk, but our meals are $5, but Brandy, our food service manager, does such a good job. And again, we usually do a program or have someone playing music or we're playing a game or a presentation. So if there is a charge, there's always something else wrapped up with it. So it's more than worth their while, but it doesn't cover our costs. But it's sort of another way to also make sure that people commit.
Show up, yeah.
So
Mhm. Okay.
Anything else? Thank you.
all right, welcome to the senior center. If anyone is a veteran, we have Fridays, we have free breakfast and French toast and eggs and muffins. And it's just a wonderful time. You just have to register, but it's free for all veterans. So
This once a month?
once a month, the third Friday of the month. We don't do it in the summer, but you just have to register. We'd love to have you up. Anyone 60 plus, come on up and utilize our programs, come visit. And thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
Is there anything like related to library that you think is worth saying tonight?
You know, I think I understand the intent behind, putting the money to the side, but, I think right now where people are faced with making cuts within their own households, I think it's tough to like put money away for something that may or may not happen down the road. So
Yeah.
not looking for anybody to spend everything down to the zero, but can we, that's all, that was it, but.
Yeah, no, I think, and I was gonna follow up with Mackenzie about Parks and Rec too, on just getting more insight into money that's available outside of just town funding. So like the Parks and Rec revolving fund. Getting more information on that, I think would be helpful too for us.
I will say, Madam Chairman, that looking at their budgets, the library and the council on aging, very conservative. I mean, they're not looking for a 5-7% increase,
Mhm.
2%, 1.7. I think those are very conservative overall increases. So I do appreciate that fact.
Yeah.
Yep. I actually didn't even take a look at Parks and Rec, and apologize for
Yeah,
that.
yeah, and she's.
Oh, no, I guess not. I should have looked at that one first. Wow.
Gonna come to another meeting.
Well, that's why I didn't look at it because she's not here, but wow, that's.
36 is.
Could I ask
Yeah.
just a quick question on the Parks and Rec budget? I know we're not gonna discuss it tonight, but just in general, if a department is looking to add a position, does that have to go to personnel board before it's budgeted? Like, how does it work? In like order
Yeah,
of
can you,
operation?
because this is a position they had, and then did.
Well, it doesn't have to. I mean, we wouldn't spend the money, but
Right, right. It would only need personnel approval to create and classify a job. So if
Okay.
it's already been created and classified, they wouldn't need to. I believe they did that last year in order to, because it was in their budget last year and it didn't get funded. So I think if it's already classified, they would just put forward that same. If they make changes to it, then they would have to go back to personnel.
Got it.
But also with the Parks and Rec, just to be aware, and again, Mackenzie apologized. She had a family emergency out of state, so she wasn't able to be here. She just found out over the weekend. But they are looking to take on that after-school program this year, and they're very much in depth negotiations with the school. So I think they're looking to put forward that to the town. They're going to run it through the revolving fund because they're going to be collecting fees. But Mackenzie's trying to finalize it right now because there may be a shortfall, that it may need some subsidy from their regular budget. So when she, gives her a little bit more time, then to when she comes back before the board, that hopefully she'll have that information to be able to explain it a little bit better. So, but the hope is initially is trying to run it so that it's self-sustaining. But we'll see. But they are looking to create a new position. And there are some other departments that'll be looking to create positions as well. So I think by setting up the portal with these budgets, we'll load all the budgets in there right away. So people, you'll have them, access to them right away. I was hoping to have our health insurance number. That's going to be our biggest impact that we're going to have to look at this year is health insurance. We met with our consultant last Thursday. Blue Cross had promised him a renegotiated number, and they didn't get it to him in time for our meeting, so we had to postpone. I was looking to hold off on doing kind of that first pass the spreadsheet because that's a big number. Right now, our health insurance renewal is 24.6%. So our town appropriation is 6.1 million. So if you just do the math on that, 25% of that, we're looking at $1.5 million right off the top. That's gonna go into the budget without touching anything else. he's trying to get, our consultant is trying to get that negotiated down between negotiations and maybe some plan designs. We're working with the unions that are hoping we can get it around 20, somewhere in the low 20s, or maybe just below 20%, but it's still going to be a big number.
What's the timeline on those negotiations? Like, is there like a date we have to finalize, that has to be finalized by?
Not the negotiations, but for our budget, we
Yeah.
need to be able to, by the end of May, we need to have some number we have to plan for. I mean, the
Yeah.
hope is.
I mean, we
that-
probably need it by like the end of April, like realistically, right? To be able to.
Absolutely. The hope is though that we're not gonna put hundreds of thousands in there that we don't need to make cuts somewhere else. So, we had set another meeting. I think it might be next week. So the hope is we'll have that number by next week. This Friday, the previous consortium board is meeting this Friday. I'll be attending that meeting. And they're going to give us an update on the runout claims from the previous year for our insurance. So if you can remember at town meeting, we had $1,081,000 that we had to appropriate to send to the Neshoba Minuteman to cover any claims from Clinton that might come up during this year. Those claims are running well ahead of better than scheduled than what they thought. So on this Friday, we'll have an idea if they tell us that they're going to look to do a partial reimbursement back to us of that money. So if we have that number by Friday, that might be something maybe to help for 1 year, to help keep control of that health insurance increase for a year. But realizing if it is one-time money that we have to plan for next year to be ready for that. But at least it might be another source just to help on this budget if it gets really tight. So we'll put in all the information in the portal. We'll just use that 24.6 for now and hope that it goes down and we can adjust that as we go forward. But I think with that, it's going to make things tight. The state did fully fund the Student Opportunity Act, so the school would be getting about $1.4 million extra in Chapter 70 money. However, even with that increase, based on just their proposed budget, they're going to need to make some reductions based on that as well too. So if this health insurance impacts us even more, they may even cut back even for what they were looking at with their 1.4 million increase, because right now the town side pays all of their health insurance costs. The school doesn't cover any of that, so there may be a need to have to share more in those costs. The town side, we had gotten 2% increase on the unrestricted government aid. I was at an MMA meeting a week ago, and they said, the legislators that were there said, we realized that wasn't a lot, but right now, don't count on a penny more. So hoping that they won't go back on it. Usually when the governor's budget comes out, we try to get a little bump from the Senate or the House, but they're saying the governor's budget is probably going to be the ceiling right now. And if things get worse on the state level in the next couple of months, they may even have to chip into that. So I think it wasn't looking to be, a rosy budget picture, but I think we could have gotten by okay. This health insurance number is really going to hit hard, and we're going to have to really kind of look at the budget for that lens. So that's why I think with this portal, we're looking to kind of get everything up there so that you have it, you can start reviewing it, and gives 2 months to really give time to digest all those numbers. So the Conservation Commission, they were able to work with Sterling and the Select Board to come up with a intermunicipal agreement to share conservation agent services with Sterling. That person is starting next week. He will be a employee of Sterling and then share with the town. He'll be in the town 20 hours a week here in Clinton. And for the remainder of this fiscal year, based on the final budget that was approved, there is sufficient funding to cover it for the remainder of the year. But then looking for July 1, then that will be a full year cost. The current salary is about 62,000, I think, somewhere in that area. So it'd be about half of that. So there was 20,000 put in this year. So they're going to need probably another bump up 10 or 15,000 on that there for that line item. So, but that's covered for now. So I think that'll be good to see how that position is used and what the town's needs are for the remainder of this fiscal year.
So we would essentially budget like an extra 10 to 12K
Right,
for conservation for next year.
right.
Just a quick question, Mike, now, because it's shared, if that individual is expecting health benefits, what town would be responsible for, or is it, how would they do?
That'll be a shared cost as
Costs
well.
for the
too.
health as
Yep.
well? Okay.
Yep, for the benefits. So
Okay.
I'm not sure if this person is taking health insurance. I'm assuming they will, but the two towns will share those costs as well too. Yeah.
One small point that Gloria is going to bring up, but before it went to 20, it was 7,500, and there was a concern on her end that covered Russia Farm and other office expenses. So if you're thinking about the 20 going to 30 or 32, we have to figure that 75 in there, 75 in there. So
Can you say that one more time, Sean?
What, sorry?
the budget used to be 7,500. We kicked it up to 20,000. There was immediate concern from some people on the Conservation Commission regarding Russia Farm, and I think it covered office expenses and things like that. So the 20 was a bump, but I think we're asking for 20
I know
plus
what you're
the
saying.
7.5.
We budgeted 20, but 7,500 was probably still used
Yeah.
for like other things.
Right. We didn't need all the 20, so it wasn't an issue this year.
Yeah.
But I think if we go to 30 and all that goes to this new agent, then there's going to be a shortfall there.
Who manages like that 7,500? The Conservation Commission, like the board?
So the Rocher people would have to come to the conservation for any expenditures that they
Yes.
requesting.
Yep.
So they have to be approved by the conservation. Okay.
Right.
So is it checks and balance then?
Yep.
I have a health insurance question. It felt like the consortium we were in kind of disbanded rather quickly. I don't know if that's just my perception of it. In what I've read, other towns are facing similar situation with, 20% increase, or in that area. Can we look into like joining another consortium, or is like Maya an option? I'm just thinking, obviously this is kind of problematic for the moment, but also thinking long-term, like I'm imagining our bargaining power is weaker as one town versus being part of a larger consortium. So I don't know if that's been brought up with.
It has, no, definitely a good point, but we have looked at that and the consultant has investigated. Maya are having their
Same
own
problem.
issues.
Yeah.
They're not accepting any new communities this year
Mhm.
because of, trying to manage the increases that they're having. We did speak with Harvard Pilgrim and Mass Brigham General, Mass General Brigham. They both said they couldn't do better than our 24% increase, that theirs would probably be a little bit higher. So we said, well, why do we waste going through an RFP if you're going to cost
Yeah.
more money than what we have right now? One of the consortiums in this area are having financial difficulties, so we wanted to stay away from that one.
Yeah.
So we are looking to see what else is out there. So absolutely,
Yeah.
if there's a better place to go. And I think we're going to need to try to get by this year. And I know people had talked in the past about the Group Insurance Commission. That didn't seem to be kind of the top choice for everybody. But at least if we say that that's something we should look at for the renewal for next year, it gives time to continue to look at that again, seeing, they had their increases as well too. But I think it would have been, I think our consultant said maybe 14 or 15%, and not 24%. So it certainly would have been better, but it's still not single digits either. but it's becoming a huge issue. And I don't know if this is just a COVID spike that now everybody that went to the doctor after COVID, we're seeing those ramifications, and it'll try to level out next year. We don't know, but we'll see how that all plays out. But definitely we need to keep looking. One thing that the group was talking about last year was doing a health savings account, do kind of that high deductible, low premium cost. That would shave, I think they said somebody taking that plan would be like 15 percentage points off of your premium. So that might be attractive to people, which then would save the town money as well too. So all of those things right now are on the table that we're looking at. Anything that we can help bring that 24% down. So plan design changes, if you go from $5 more per doctor's visit or prescription, doctor's visits will have a little bit of an increase. A little bit of savings. Biggest savings is with prescription drugs. So if you increase the copay there, that would probably have the biggest savings because people use it a lot, but then you're impacting the utilization of people that need their medications. The other things we looked at were some of the deductibles, some of like the hospital visits and copays and different things like that. So anywhere you can pick up a percentage or two here or there to make it better. But it's got to be fairly worthwhile because you're just passing those costs on to the user, to the employee. So if you're going to be, adding, another $5-10 per visit on to them, and we're saving 1% on the premium, that may not be the best use of it. But for a consultant kind of exploring all of those, the next meeting he was going to kind of bring a chart, and I can share that with the two boards as to what the impact would be if you do this, what the savings might be if you do this, what it might be. So I can distribute that as soon as I get that as well too. So
Great.
Mike, now I'm going back about 20 or 30 years, but we were paying all the health benefits for our employees, and we got whacked by about a 30% increase. And one of my guys in the office, who was a bookkeeper, says, how many of you people working here have a wife or somebody working in another industry or something? And so they started checking out. They were put on, they were mostly male, so they were put on the wife's insurance, and we paid half of what they would have paid to them. So it was like an extra bonus and everything. And it worked. They'd be standing in line trying to get it. And we would do it for years.
yeah, yep. Those are other options too. There's
Yeah.
we have a single and family. You could do a single plus one, so you're not buying a whole family plan if you just have a one. You could do those where the incentives that if you don't take the insurance, you'll get a payment, X amount of payment if you don't take it, which would incentivize you to find insurance elsewhere. There would have to be verification that you have insurance, so we're not making ourselves liable that you're dropping your coverage, but there's a lot of different ways to attack it.
Mike, if you put some of the costs for, say, higher deductibles or more money the employee has to pay for their medications, does that have to be negotiated with the unions?
If you're changing the plan design, it would. If we do it through this insurance advisory committee and they agree to make that recommendation and the select board accept that recommendation, it can supersede the contracts. But any plan design change would need the union approval. Yeah. If we change carriers or add HSA or different things like that, we could do that on our own. But if we are changing the plan, we would need to negotiate that. Yeah.
Are we gonna vote on the
we do need, if we're.
Madam Chairman, I just have
Yeah.
one more question
Yeah.
before we go on to something else. Just on the Parks and Rec, her miscellaneous account has gone up 17,000. And I would love to see when she comes in, what her expenses were last year compared to what she's putting down this year.
Yeah.
Because she doesn't have any comparison of what those expenses were last year. I'm just curious, because that's a pretty big jump.
Yeah. I can send her an email.
Yeah, I mean, just to,
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
I echo that.
Mm.
I guess on that topic, so when they're doing their budgets, they're basing it on the last full fiscal year. With no like percentage change, like just flat. I guess I'm trying to figure out like what the process is to get to this point. Like we know these costs are rising. I know there's not a real crystal ball we have here, but
Yeah, I think departments would look to the last full fiscal year to see what their actual expenses were.
yeah.
And then they would have to try to track what they've been spending to date this year and see if there is any impact, so that when they ask for next year, they can justify that, oh, my costs, even though last year it was only this much, this year we've seen a rise already. So next year we're going to plan for it. So that's how they should be approaching it. If they're seeing cost increases, even though I mean, by now, if it was earlier, it would only be 6 months, but now they should have almost 8 months of data for this fiscal year that they should be able to show what their actual costs are, that they can share with the boards for why they're asking for more money. Unless it's for something specific, if it's a new program or a new equipment or a
there's
new
nothing.
employee or whatever, but if it's just the regular expenses that they're just putting in an increase, they have to give some backup as to why.
Okay.
Anything else budget related before we move on to transfer?
Thank you.
Right.
Thank you, Michael.
Yeah, thank you. I do have the TED for quorum for the
Yeah.
permanent building committee, so it's a virtual meeting, so I'm just gonna get it set up on my computer. So if you
Okay.
need me, I'll be right over there. I can pop back in.
All right.
All right, thank you.
Do we have something to sign? Do you know, Diane, for the transfer of? We need a transfer from the reserve fund. We have to sign something or no? Or just vote it?
You didn't for,
Mm,
you didn't for anything, so you can just vote it.
okay.
It's 14,000 for a contract with the recruitment firm.
Did you guys already vote on it?
What's it?
We voted to go with Community Paradigm and it was a blind vote. So we were on, they each had a sealed envelope. So we had a rubric that we were instructed to find the best candidate, hopefully to recruit for the position. And then the cost was presented to us at $14,000. So.
Okay, so
This is $14,000 for a recruiter?
Yeah, so typically it's actually the same recruiter we've used for the assistant town administrator and then I think Department of Public Works.
Yeah, DPW
DPW.
superintendent, and there was some, I think there's one more in there.
Assistant town administrator.
did you use them for the treasurer or no?
No, they actually declined, or they actually didn't feel they could find someone. But they said you can hire us, but we're probably not gonna help you. Yeah, be helpful there. But given the nature of the fact that we've had the same person in the position for 30 years, they anticipate it would be above 10,000. So that's why we need to go through the procurement process. And now we've gone through the procurement process. We had 2 people submit proposals. We reviewed the proposals at our last meeting. We voted for Community Paradigm. And now in order to start the process, we need to transfer those from the reserve funds. in there.
Has any thought been given to offering Mike more money to put off his retirement?
We have, well, said he is not going to be with us after his contract, so we are putting things in place in the event that we,
What I'm asking is, anyone talked to him
Well,
about possibly staying? You're not going to get anybody in this environment that has the experience that he has and the knowledge of everything that's happened over the past 30 years. He's negotiated all the contracts with these unions. You got a lot of new people here. You got a new DPW director, you got a new human resource person. You don't even have an assistant. You'd think you'd have Mike stay on and break in an assistant to move into the position.
well, we've had people give their notice and we've not taken that seriously before and resulted in open positions, treasurer collector, building commissioner. So we're trying to be judicious and make a plan for this situation. He said he is not
I'd
looking
offer
to
him the
extend his
14 grand
contract.
to stay, personally.
If I
Well, we've underpaid him for a lot of
I mean,
years.
I would just like, I know they had,
Go for it.
board had a vote and I voted not to do this. I would have to agree with the chief. I would love to see Michael finish his career here. I think he's been an asset to this town. And, again, it's the will of the people, but for what my opinion is, I would love to see him stay. And I agree. I would think in a heartbeat, he would probably stay and finish his career.
Well, he did not say that.
I'm just saying.
So
if
we have
someone-
to go through, we have to
Yeah.
plan for what he has publicly stated, which is he does not wish to extend his contract.
Well, I still say.
So I don't know if
I think there's time to
$14,000
sit down
needle.
and that's all I'm
Well,
saying is I think there is.
To me, I have to go with the information that's presented to me. And like I said, we have had people give their notice. We've not taken that seriously, and now we're having really giant issues as a result. So,
The discussion tonight is transferring the $14,000, not to debate the future of the town administrator of the town of Clinton. So to have that debate or discussion publicly, I find it to be, this is not the right area, time, or place to have that discussion. That discussion should have happened a long time ago. The select board voted on it. That was it. He tendered his desire to not seek renewal, the end. So,
Well, I think that it's perfectly appropriate to discuss such things in public. I don't know where else you would discuss things. If you discuss it away from the public eye, one would have one could have a reason to be suspicious of it. Here's what I think. I think it is unwise to move on from an administrator who is affordable to one who, and I believe even a recent discussion of the Board of the Selectmen, to one that is going to be much more expensive. And I will say that if the Board of Selectmen has decided to do that, then they could perhaps at least save the town $14,000 by doing their own recruiting. I'm not going to vote for this transfer.
Madam Chair, to be clear, the Board of Selectmen, the Select Board didn't do anything. Michael told us several times in public and in executive session that he did not want a new contract. We have to take that at face value. I'm not sure what else we're supposed to do. He said he didn't want it. We didn't do anything.
Fine.
We accepted that.
yeah,
I have one more piece to add to this. So
Saying he didn't want.
he 100% offered he did it twice.
did it
I-
publicly.
He did. So
That's
let me
right.
just put one thing forward. The FinCom has no oversight over personnel, correct?
Right.
Okay, so why sharing your opinions at a FinCom meeting about a transition plan to do with a transfer? Anytime things have been brought up, the discussion was, hey, that's under FinCom's purview. This is not under your purview. So your opinion, you can write it, you can come to public comment, you can write it in the newspaper. but I don't understand how that's relevant to this discussion.
Here's how it's relevant. You're asking for $14,000 to be
Correct.
transferred. I'm saying you should save that $14,000 and do the recruitment or the planning yourself.
You're advocating for it to.
No,
bring
no,
the-
I'm
you said it right in the
advocating for
beginning. You
not
said right in the
transferring
beginning.
that money.
In the beginning, the discussion was,
Give it to Michael.
I
So,
do
that was my-
think
Which
it's
is not-
unwise. I
that's
mean,
not- I agree.
That's not.
I'm sorry if I should not have that opinion. Perhaps
You can have it.
It's not-
Perhaps you could send me a list of approved opinions that I could have. But unfortunately, short your advice on, what opinions I'm allowed to have. I gave you that opinion, and I'm not voting for this $14,000.
Okay, so does anyone from finance committee want to make a motion
I'll
to?
make a motion that we don't approve the $14,000.
Second,
Okay, all in favor of, any more discussion on the transfer from our board?
Is this a joint vote?
I don't know how it works, to be honest. Does select board have to, I don't think they have to vote on finance,
No,
finance
no.
committee reserve fund.
Correct.
Okay. Any other discussion? All in favor of not transferring the $14,000?
Aye.
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 Okay,
Was that 3-1?
opposed. All right. So we move on, I guess. That's it. Oh. So next week we'll meet, it's at 5 o'clock next week.
5:30. Oh, yes, 5 o'clock.
Sorry for the time changes. I just have other meetings, but, yeah, 5 o'clock next Tuesday. Yeah, okay. Thank you, everybody.
5 next Tuesday?
Yes. That's me. Julie, are you looking for? Yeah.